Hello and welcome back to my next video. My name is Gina Rowe and today I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the basics that are shelf stable that you really should either keep updated in your kitchen or set aside as part of your preps for if you need to do more cooking at home and are like me and maybe don't do as much baking or cooking as normal. But these are some pretty basic, important foundational things for any good kitchen pantry. So let's start with flour. And the reason I'm starting with flour is because this was one of the hardest things to find when the world shut down earlier this year. I have to admit, I don't do a lot of cooking or baking, and I was caught completely unprepared, so much so that I didn't even have 1 tablespoon of flour in my kitchen because flour tends to go bad, and the flour that I had around had started to go bad. It got kind of that rancid smell to it. So I dumped it out with the intention of replacing it, and then I never replaced it. Fortunately, a friend picked up some extra flour and sold me some, so that I did end up getting some flour, but I couldn't just run to the store and grab it at some point. So now I always keep at least a little bit around. Flour will last on your shelf at least 6 months to a year, depending. This has a 12-month shelf life on it from when I purchased it. So I'm just gonna take it and set it back so that I don't get caught without flour. Because flour's, whether you're gonna do something like bake bread or make cookies, or even something like just wanting to make a few simple recipes that need a few tablespoons of flour or a cup of flour here and there. This is a simple, small 10-pound package. And at Walmart, a 10-pound package is $2.24. So really good way to start off your pantry for a couple of dollars. The other thing I want to get into is some forever foods. And these things will literally last on your shelf forever. And they're a great thing to have around. One is salt. This is a pound of salt. It's right around 50 cents, depending on where you buy it. But a 1-pound package ranges between like 47 to 58 cents at places like Walmart and Kroger and all those kinds of places. You can pretty much pick it up for 50 cents a pound. I buy iodized salt, non-iodized salt, Himalayan salt, all sorts of things. But salt is an essential mineral, and so it's really important that you keep it around. Recommendations are that you keep 8 pounds of salt per person. And one of the great things is you can keep it just like this. I have a 5-gallon bucket that says salt on the side, and I just grab these and throw them in. And when I have enough, I slap the lid on it. And I just buy as much salt as I need. I usually use pink Himalayan for cooking, but this will be good forever. You don't need to put it in a Mylar bag. You do not use an oxygen absorber. The only thing you need to do is prevent moisture from getting to it. Especially if you live in California, it will clump and get hard if it is left exposed to in a humid climate. So that's the only thing you need to do. So putting it in some sort of plastic container, even putting it in Ziplocs or something, will keep the moisture out and will keep your salt great. Store it just like this. And it will never go bad. Another great forever food is sugar. This is a 4-pound bag of sugar. 4-pound bag of sugar is like $2. It's again, maybe around 50 cents a pound for some sugar. And sugar is a great way to just sweeten things. If you're like me and keep a lot of oatmeal around, having some sugar around is pretty handy. Again, another forever food. You don't need to put it in Mylar bags. You don't need to put oxygen absorbers in. I again just keep a plastic storage tub. I line up my packages of sugar in it. I just pick it up when I run to the store, throw it in there, put the lid on. As long as you keep the humidity out, you can store it just like this, and 30 years from now, it'll be just as good as it is today. It doesn't lose any of its sweetness. Nothing happens to it. Really, really great thing. And with granulated sugar, you can pulverize it to make powdered sugar. You can add molasses to it to make brown sugar. Really, really versatile, and something that you just buy once and set aside and you have forever. And then another forever food is vinegar. This is just simple white vinegar. The Walmart brand's maybe $2 for a bottle of vinegar. I keep both apple cider vinegar and white vinegar around. The white vinegar I buy in gallon jugs. I use it for cleaning. I use it for meal preparation. if you do any canning, you need to use the bottled white vinegar so that you have a guarantee of a 5% acidity rate for food preservation. I also happen to really like apple cider vinegar, but vinegars, whether it's balsamic vinegar, rice vinegar, red wine vinegar, white vinegar, apple cider vinegar, all of those vinegars are forever foods. They don't go bad. Nothing will grow in them. They don't grow bacterias. They're really, really great. And so you need some vinegar around because some foods call for acids in order to activate. So you want to make sure you just keep at least a little vinegar on your shelf. Then there's some almost forever foods, and that includes chicken bouillon. Some chicken bouillon has a little bit of oil in it as long as they are dried out completely. A lot of chicken bouillon, whether it's the cubes or you can buy it in granules, those will last almost indefinitely. A lot of them even have a 10-year shelf life on them. And dry milk. And to me, these are really great staples. Bouillon, chicken bouillon is one I tend to keep around, is a great way to add flavor into things. It's a great basis for most soups that I make. It's also really a great way to flavor rice. Like when I'm cooking rice, I'll throw a couple of bouillon cubes in when I'm cooking it. It adds great flavor to the rice. So bouillon's super handy. And dry milk. Dry milk, when properly stored, like if you buy the Augustin Farm makes a Morning Moo brand that you can pick up at a lot of Walmarts, and they have a 25 to 30 year shelf life because they're packaged in the number 10 cans. You can package the boxed instant milk so that it also will last about 30 years. It won't last 30 years in the cardboard box, but it will last 30 years when you properly store it. A box of powdered milk like this is less than $3. And if you're like me, I don't drink a lot of milk, but once in a while I'll have a recipe that calls for milk, and that's when it's really handy to have some dry milk. And if you get the Morning Moo brand from Augustin, you can mix it and drink it. Kids can put it on their cereal, all those sort of things, if you're really big milk drinkers. But having some instant milk around is a really great thing to have in your pantry. And because the shelf life is so great, I buy it and keep it properly stored in either number 10 cans. I also vacuum seal mine into jars sealed with my food saver, and that really extends the shelf life out. Now, one of the things I have here that does not have a great shelf life is vegetable oil, or whatever oil you prefer. I did buy a little vegetable oil because oils were kind of hard to get earlier this spring. I tend to use more olive oil or avocado oil, but this is only a couple of dollars. It has one of the shorter shelf lives, about a year and a half to, if you properly store it. And that means in a cool place. If you keep it around room temperature in the 70s, it will go bad faster. And that's true for all oils. I don't know of any oil that stays shelf stable forever. They all just tend to, oils just go bad. But I keep butter in my freezer. Even coconut oil has about a 2-year shelf life. If you keep it your house warm enough that your coconut oil liquefies, it is going to go bad faster. But keep some sort of oil around, some sort of fat around. Not only is it important for cooking, there are some recipes that need it, need some sort of fat. We all need fats in our diets, but a little bit of oil is really important to have around and to keep and rotate out. And so I'll keep it around, and if by spring I haven't used it, I'll just donate it to the food pantry or something to make sure that it doesn't go to waste. There are also a couple of baking essentials that are really important to keep around. I don't have yeast in here, but I did put in both baking powder and baking soda as leavening agents. Partially because yeast needs to be stored properly and is pretty expensive. It was really hard to find earlier this spring. But you can make like quick breads using either baking soda or baking powder. Scottish shortbread, you can make sandwiches out of that. It doesn't rise quite as high as yeast breads, but you can still make a great little quick bread using either baking soda or baking powder. And that's why you would need the vinegar to activate the leavening agent. But baking soda is about $1. Baking powder, I think the Walmart brand is less than $2 per canister. Now these do age out after a couple of years and they don't have as much rise. They'll still have a little bit of lift to them, but it's just easier to go and grab a couple more containers for just a few dollars to put on your shelf in case you need them. And then the third essential is cornstarch. The main reason I use cornstarch is as a thickening agent. Mix it with a little bit of water, add it into some soups or stews or things like that to make things a little bit thicker and richer. But again, 98 cents for a little canister of cornstarch is a great thing to have and make sure you keep around. And cornstarch has a really long shelf life. So I buy it in bulk and keep it around, and it doesn't go bad. And then along with salt, we are going to want to add some flavorings into our foods. So I have a couple of little seasonings here. One is, these are peppercorns that I just keep in a little jar. They're just the little peppercorn beads. I don't buy ground black pepper because that loses its strength really, really quickly. But if you buy whole peppercorns, they will last a really long time on your shelf. And then you just mix them. I keep a little I keep a little grinder on my oven and I just grind my pepper as I use it. But if you can't do that, you can always get a little package of ground pepper even at the dollar store for 98 cents. Garlic powder is a great way to add a lot of flavoring really, really easily. Again, this was 98 cents at Walmart. And some minced onions. I tend to buy bigger packages of minced onions, but just simple little minced onions are a great way to add flavor into soups and stews, and if you're cooking any meat or anything. And dried onions have a really long shelf life, which is really handy. I also because I do a lot of things with tomato bases, I keep Italian seasoning around. You can make your own. I tend to buy mine in bulk, which is why I have a little jar of it here. But again, you can get another canister about this size for 98 cents at Walmart of any of these things. And then I also added some additional ground cinnamon into the mix. Because I have sugar, I do a lot with oatmeal, those sort of things. Cinnamon is a great way to flavor your oatmeal or your pancakes. Make a little sweet treat for yourself. And even the ground cinnamon tends to keep its flavoring for a really long time. And all of these all together cost less than $25. So to be able to have the basis for your pantry, all fresh, all ready to go for less than $25 is really handy. If you don't have anything in your kitchen, go grab this simple list, and you can put all of these items in a box on your shelf. And if you don't need them, don't use them. If you haven't used them by spring, donate them to a food bank. If you need them, they are there for you. If you have some of these items, but maybe not all of them, or if you're like, oh, my baking soda is a couple years old, maybe it's time to refresh it. Whatever works for you, this is just the best, most affordable, basic pantry list, so that if you need to start doing a little bit more cooking from home, you have everything that you need to do the basic recipes that will help you be able to prepare meals for you and your family. Whether you need all of these items or just a few, next time you go to the store, pick up a few things more to add to the basics for your pantry so that you can be prepared.